Okay, this is 8th grade lesson 6.3b. In this lesson, students will find the cube roots and estimate square roots. The standard is 8NS2 and 8EE2. The page numbers out of the hardcover book are pages 151A and B, and out of the practice journal, pages 128A and B. Okay, so this is an extension off of what we just previously learned. Earlier in this chapter, we worked with square roots. So remember, just a reminder of what a square root is. That's where we have the radicand symbol, and it's implied that there's actually a 2 out here. So like, for example, if we had 16 under here, we would need to find what number times itself twice would give us 16. So square roots are those basic multiplication facts, right? So 2 times 2 would give me 4. 3 times 3 was 9. 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, so this would be 4. If we wanted to find the square root of 16, 4 is the square root because 4 times 4 would give us 16. Today, what we're going to work with is what they call a cubed root. So a cubed root of a number is a number that when multiplied by itself and then multiplied by itself again equals the given number. So in other words, when you take that number times itself 3 times, it's going to give you the number underneath of our symbol. A perfect cube is a number that can be written as a cube of an integer. So for example, on our squared roots, when we did the square root of 16, that is the same as 4 squared. So that's what they're referring to in this last part, that a perfect cube is going to be that number that can be written as a perfect number integer to the 3rd power, okay? So here we need to find what number times itself 3 times would give us 8. So we're gonna just do trial and error. 8's a pretty small number. We could start with 1. Well, 1 times 1 times 1 is just gonna give us 1, so it can't be that one. So let's try 2. If I were to do 2, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. That's what I needed. I needed to get 8. So what number times itself? 3 times, take note, 1, 2, 3. That number was 2. Okay, so 2 to the 3rd power is the same as the cubed root of 8. Okay, so our final answer, we're just going to write 2. What number times itself 3 times would give us 8? That would be 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and try a couple more of these. Well, quite a few more because you have to get lots of reps. Okay, so here we just did letter A, so we're not going to go ahead and do that one. So this time they want us to find the cube root of negative 27. So visually, this is what they're referring to, the 3rd root or cubed root of negative 27. Now, whenever you have a negative number, you're going to have negatives on your number when you go to multiply them out. So what number times itself would give us 27? Well, obviously it's not 2. It's got to be bigger than 2 because that was 8. So let's try 3. Negative 3 times negative 3, that would give me positive 9. Times negative 3, well, 9 times 3 is 27. I have 1, 2, 3 negatives, so that would be negative 27. So our final answer here is negative 3. Negative 3 is the cubed root of negative 27. Okay, it's just getting comfortable with understanding that you need to find that number 3 times, no more. Sometimes what happens is people on their calculators think they're going to hit the times sign 3 times. No, you hit the number 3 times. Okay, and we're going to practice this without a calculator. When you're done with this lesson, if you would like me, if you can prove to me you can do it by trial and error and you want me to show you how to use your calculator, I will be glad to show you the button function that you can use to do a cubed root, okay? So here for 216, well, 3 was 27. 216 is quite a ways away from that. So let's just try a number maybe, let's just randomly try a number. Let's try 8. Okay, so not that you have to do this longhand. You can take your calculator out, but pay very close attention to when you're punching this in, that you are punching in what you're seeing here on the screen. Don't punch the multiplication sign 3 times because that's where people tend to make their mistakes. So I'm going to do 8 times 8 times 8. That gives me 512. That's way too big. So it can't be 8. It has to be smaller. So let's try 6. 6 times 6 times 6. Oh. When I do that, I get 216, and that's what I needed. So the cubed root, or the 3rd root, of 216 is 6. Okay, so 6 to the third power is the same as the third root of 216. But we're going to give the answer as just what number times itself 3 times would give us 216. Okay, so let's try some more of these. Okay, what number to the third root of 0? What's the third root of 0? What number times itself 3 times would give us 0? I'm hoping you don't even have to try this one out. That would be 0. Okay, the third root of 125. So we just did 216, and that was 6. So it has to be lower than 6. Okay, so let's try 5. It ends in a 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Times 5 is 125. So the final answer for this would be 5. The third root of 125 is 5. Okay, I want you guys to try these two. So go ahead, pause your video, work your way through these two, and then start your video back up to check yourself. You should have gotten 4 for the cubed root of 64. And sorry, I wrote 1. And I wrote 4, I meant to write 1. And 1 for the third root of 1. Okay, remember, when you're doing these, you're finding what number times itself 3 times would give you the number underneath of the radicand symbol. Okay, so we're going to kind of advance on from that. So when we work with cubes, very visual representation of a cube is an actual cube, like a die. Okay, so here they're telling us the volume of this cube is 125 feet cubed. So remember back when you guys were doing squared, I would give you a square, act like this is a nice perfect square, and then I would put S and S, and I would tell you that the area was 64. And so you would find what number times itself would give you 64, right? And you would say, okay, well, that's 8. Okay, so each side length there was 8. This is working off of cubed. So we have a cube. That means we have to find a number times itself 3 times that would give us that. So when you find the volume of a cube, you take length times width times height. Okay, so we're going to take those 3 S's. So S to the third power is going to equal our volume, which is 125 feet cubed. So how do I get rid of a third power? I need to find the square root of it. So I need to find, not square root, the cubed root. I need to find the cubed root of 125. So this is what I need to solve. So I can figure out what each of these side lengths are. So this one should look familiar because it was one we did on the previous slide. So what number times itself would give us 125? Well, that would be 5. So we just found out that each of these side lengths is 5. Okay, so that's not the final part of this because they asked us to actually identify the surface area. So we're going to have to review surface area. So to find the surface area of a rectangular figure or a cube, we have to find the area of each of these faces. Okay, so this is a face. So if I wanted to find the area of that red square, how would I find the area of that? Well, I would do 5 times 5, right? The base times the height. Okay, so I got 25 for this. Now remember, you have another one back here that's 25 that we can't physically see right now. Okay, so on the side, I also have 5 by 5, which is 25. So over here, you have another one that's 25. And yes, I'm going to review the entire process because on a cube, it's easy. On a rectangle, you have different side measurements for each of them. Okay, then I have this third side that I can physically see, which is the top, which is also 5 by 5, which is 25. And you've got the bottom that's 25. So on a cube, the nice thing is every single face is exactly the same. Okay, flat surface is your face. So we've got 6 sides on a die or a cube. We have 6 25s. So to get my final answer, I'm going to go through and do 25 times the 6 sides that I know. So 25 times 6 gives me 150. So I know that my number is 150, and they wanted to know the surface area. So my units was feet, and area is labeled square. So your final answer is 125 feet squared. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another one of these. And today you'll just be working with cubes. We won't work with rectangular prisms because we're focusing on understanding a cubed root. Okay, so it says the volume of a cube is 512 cubic centimeters. So that looks like this. Volume equals 512 centimeters cubed. Okay, so find the surface area of the volume. So I need to figure out what each side measurement is. So I've got a base of S, a width of S, or the distance back, and a height of S. Okay, so I've got 3 S's, right? Which I'll go ahead and put this one on the outside. Okay, so I've got, for my volume, I would multiply those together. So S to the third equals 512. Okay, so to get S by itself, I would have to do the cubed root, not cubed, cubed root of that. So I need to do the cubed root of 512. Okay, so that has to be my first step. So cubed root of 512. Well, what number times itself 3 times would give us 512? Well, we just did 5, and that was 125, so that's pretty low. Let's try 7. 7 times 7 times 7 gives me 343. So when I do 7 to the third power, that's 343. That's too low. So let's try 8. 8 times 8 times 8 gives me 512. So my final answer on this is going to be 8. So that means each side is 8. Okay, they want us to find the surface area. So we're going to find the surface of one side. And now that we've reviewed how to do surface area, we can take that times 6 because there are 6 sides that are the same. Okay, so if I want to find the area of this face that's red, well, it's 8 by 8, which is 64. And how many sides are on this cube? There would be 6. So to get our final answer, we're going to do 64 times the 6 sides that are there. And that gives us 384. Units were centimeters. And we are working surface area, so it's squared. So your final answer is the surface area of this cube is 384 centimeters squared. Okay, so that's just giving you a more realistic version of where you would ever use cubed roots. Once again, a cubed root is going to be a number. To find the solution, you're going to find a number that when multiplied by itself 3 times will give you that number underneath of the symbol. Good luck with this.